Okay, I had not intended to take the crank out, but I forgot about the rear main seal. So I put the rear main seal in. This is a rubber rear main seal. And the instructions are to put one end of the seal 3/8 inch below the flange, and then also to put RTV on the outer side of the recesses in the cap. So outer edges. I'm assuming that's what that is. I may have overdone it. I think I may take a little bit off. I don't want this stuff to squeeze inside the oil cavity. There, I think I like that better. Okay, now this will be the final time I put this together. So some things to note when we're going through here. These caps have all been previously marked either by stamping of the number 4 or 4 dots, meaning that's the number 4. There's also an arrow on here. That arrow means that's the front of the engine. So I will make sure that I put everything together that way. And the other thing I'm going to do is to use, again, the assembly lube. I'm going to pour it on the crank and then put the cap on top of that. And then I'll just snug the bolts in place until it's time to torque them in place. As I'm putting the cap down, I'm making sure it sits in the registers. That's not always easy to do. There, I think I got it. And then I'll use my regular socket wrench just to put them down in place. Come on, get down in there. That's almost down to the bottom. There we go. So just a tight snug, that's it. And then I just keep on repeating with the other caps. Okay, cap number 3, 3 dots, also stamped 3. Be careful not to ding the journal as I put things down. Make sure the cap is registering. It should be a tight fit. They have to go in straight, otherwise they don't go down at all. All right. Yeah. This one's a little tight. There we go. That's registering now. Both sides. Good. All right. Now we're going to do number 2. All right, number 2, the 3 dots are on the other side, along with the arrow. That's kind of tricky. They aren't following suit with the other sides, or the other caps. All right, that register's a little looser. That's not always a good thing. And then the number 1 cap. Again, arrow in the front. There is one dot, and that's on the same side as the number 2. So maybe number 3 is the odd one. Okay, that register went down, that's good. And that register's down as well. So just make sure everything is snug. Oh, that one's not snug yet. Okay, snug, snug, snug. All right. Now, final torque up of this, and I'm using a torque wrench, and our torque specifications are, it's going in 3 rounds here, so start off with 20 foot-pounds and then graduate to 50 and then graduate to 70 at the end. So let me turn my wrench setting down to 25. There's 20, there's 5. Okay. I'm going to start from the number 5 and work my way up. So there's 20, 20, 20, all right, now I go to 50. There's 40. There's 50. All right. I'm going to go opposite bolts this time. There's 50. All right, now 75. Or no, sorry, 70. 70 is the number. The number is 70. All right. All right. That's all there is to it. Just a torque check. Yep, good. 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 I do this just because I hate to miss one. All right, good. Crank is in. Woohoo! Okay, I do have the assembly lube in here, so I'm just gonna spin it. Nothing's binding. That's good. All right, fantastic. Okay, one of the things that I do with my assemblies, or have learned in the past, and I'm not sure why, I can't remember where, but I like to soak the piston in oil. I think it's because it's good to get the bearing with oil in it before running it, so it's at least sitting in there, and you get oil in the rings as well. Now, the other thing I'm going to point out here is I've got the caps. There's a register for the cap, and both registers are on the same side. One is for the rod, and the other is for the cap. They're on the same side, but they're opposite of each other. So that's how the assembly is going to go. A really good practice is to use some fuel line or some kind of hose on the studs of the rod. You don't want to scratch your journal. That's a relatively cheap tool. If your hoses don't fit, cut them a little bit, but put the cuts on the outside so the threads on the inside don't hit the journal. Okay, I've got this handy dandy spring compressor. I'm just going to put this in here, and then I'm just going to use the back of a hammer to tap it in. So orientation, how do you know which way to put this in? On the small block Chevy, for the cast pistons, the notch always goes towards the front. Okay, let me make sure I've got this contraption seated. It's not always easy. Got to get it lined up with the hole. All right, now I'll just sort of tap it in. See if this goes. What am I doing? Here's one. A little bit more. Okay, there's one of the tangs. The other tang is on the other side. Okay, good. Here, I'm going to move the camera over here so you can see it from this angle. And I'm not worrying about the, I'll make sure, see where am I here? I don't want to, okay. Got the beginning of the rings coming in here. It's going in, good. Getting to, there we go. Almost all the way in. Look at that, like magic. Woo! Okay. Now, just flip it over. See how those rubber hoses worked? That's awesome. Now I'm going to push the piston up by hand. Hopefully. Nope. I'm not strong enough. July 4th must be coming. All right. Let me twist the piston and the rod a little bit. There. We're good. Okay. That's it. It's down there. Okay, good. So now take those off. And then I've got my cap. Let me go grab that. And on the cap, I put the, there it is, plastic gauge. Hopefully you can see it. It's right, there it is. Okay, so again, the tang on the bearing goes with the tang on the same side on the cap. Okay, I'm gonna move that plastic gauge over here, I think. Try to get it straight so I get a good reading. All right. Come on, cap, go on. You know what? I'm going to turn the crank a little bit here. So that the plastic gauge is centered on the rod. Bottom of the rod. There we go. Oh. It doesn't want to go. What the heck's going on here? Well, there's my plastic gauge. Okay. Oh. All right, piston was going down the, dang it. Piston, come up, please. There. Bearings going in the right direction. There. Now I put nuts on. And I tighten those up. That's a 9/16. All right, so everything is assembled in the engine loosely, tight enough to allow it to spin, but not torqued up. I've unscrewed the screws here on pistons 5 and 6, and what we're going to do is all of the torques that we're putting on the bolts need to be oiled. So what I'm doing is basically just putting a little bit of oil in each of the nuts, kind of like a vase. Yeah, that's it. So when I'm tightening these up, I'm just going to snug it up to, so these are 11 32nd bolts, and they're supposed to be torqued to 35 foot-pounds. And they're supposed to be done in at least 2 stages, maybe 3, depending upon whether it's main caps or here. So I'm just going to do it in 2 stages, and my first torque is going to be 15 foot-pounds, and the second will be 35. So all I'm doing before I put the torque on is I'm by hand just rotating the nut down. And if it doesn't go just by hand, you probably have got a burr. and should take a look at it, because that will actually reduce the amount of force or the torque that you can put on your nut, and that'll take away from the holding force of that particular bearing. Not a good thing. You'll be putting what you think is the right torque on, but it won't be. Okay, so just to torque it up, I've got it set at 15 foot-pounds, or pounds-feet, if you want to say it correctly. There's 15. And then there is 15 again. And 15 again. So let me just check those. Yep, 15, yep. 15. Click in, good. Okay, so that's good. So I'm going to continue going down the row here and getting all of the bearing caps torqued to 15 foot-pounds. Then I'm going to go to the main bearings, and I will oil each of the bolts, and I will make sure that they're torqued in sequence as well. So once I get them initially torqued, I will finish the rods first and then the mains. Okay, same routine with the main bearing caps as I said. Take the caps out, or take the bolts out. Come on. There we go. Use the sriracha sauce oil. Just kidding, this is motor oil. And then put it back in by hand. It should go. Whoop. Would help if I turned it the right way. You get going in one direction and you can't stop. Same thing with this one. Come on. There we go. Again, Mike. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. One of these days I'll learn. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing on all the other cap bolts. I've already done the main, or the rear main, and I'll tighten them all up in sequence. All right, time to start doing the torques on the pistons, or piston rod caps. I've got number 1 and 2 already done. I'm going to spin this around so I get 3 and 4 to the top here. And I've got my torque wrench set to 25 foot-pounds. There's 25. Alright, now I'm going to set my torque wrench to 35 foot-pounds, which is the final torque setting. Okay, 35. From the beginning. Actually, I'll go backwards. Start here. There's 35. good. Last one. Okay, so all of the rod caps are tightened to 35 foot-pounds. Next is the mains, and I gotta go to 70 on these, and I'm gonna do these in increments of 25, 50, and 70. So let me get my torque wrench set up. 25. And I get the right socket on it. I no longer need to turn the engine. All right. Going from the back. 25. 25. Okay, now 50. Okay, there we go, 50. Awesome. Okay, everything is done on that one. Now, set it for 70. Now there's a little bit of a screw on the back of this. I should have said this earlier. This is a locking device. That way, if you turn this while you're moving your wrench, you won't lose your torque setting. So I now have it dialed in to 70, and I've locked it in. So 70, here we go. Okay. All right, all done. Bottom half of the engine is done, except for oil pump. Yeah, we're gonna rebuild that too. All right, good. So now I'm gonna go towards putting in the cam, and then I will work on assembling the heads. Those are the two next big deals.